Hidden deep in the heart of St. Augustine, Florida, lies a mansion steeped in mystery, a place that has, for centuries, been wrapped in intrigue, whispers, and secrets. Villa Zoryada, to the untrained eye, it might appear to be just another grand structure from the 19th century, an architectural marvel nestled among the historic buildings of this ancient city. But what if I told you that the story behind Villa Zoryada is far more enigmatic than anyone ever realized? From the moment you step onto the grounds, there's a sense that something ancient, something unseen, lingers in the air, as if the very bricks and stones of this mansion hold secrets that they're unwilling to share with the world. When you first hear the name Villa Zoryada, it may sound like just another piece of St. Augustine's rich tapestry of old world charm. Yet, this mansion stands out from all others. There are whispers in the shadows that tell of a history hidden from the public eye, buried beneath layers of time and forgotten memory. What were the real reasons behind its construction? Why was this mansion built in such an isolated area, far from the center of St. Augustine's growing city? And most intriguingly, what secrets does it hold that have remained untold for so long? It all began in 1883, when the first stone was laid and construction began on a sprawling estate designed by Franklin W. Smith, an architect whose name was known to a select few in the elite circles of his time. Smith's vision for Villa Zoryada was far beyond what most would have considered necessary for a simple private residence. He sought to create something far more ambitious, a mansion that would not only house its occupants, but also command respect from the surrounding community. But why was such a grand structure needed in this particular location? Why St. Augustine, a town already known for its historical landmarks and old Spanish influence? There are theories that point to the owner's desire for seclusion, a place far from prying eyes where they could make decisions away from the distractions of city life. But those who have studied the mansion's origins more closely suggest a much darker purpose for its existence. The real question lies in what drove the original owner to embark on such a monumental project. Was it purely an expression of wealth and prestige, or was there something more profound? The answer might surprise you. While the mansion's architecture may seem to reflect opulence and success, its very location hints at a more secretive design. St. Augustine, as beautiful as it is not exactly the place one would expect to find such a grandiose estate. In fact, the land that Villa Zoryada now occupies was once a desolate and unused patch of land, isolated from the bustling city center. This secluded location speaks volumes about the mansion's purpose. The origins of Villa Zoryada's owner are shrouded in mystery. Some have speculated that the mansion was built for a wealthy industrialist seeking a retreat from the pressures of business. Others point to political ties, suggesting that the mansion may have served as a residence for someone with connections to important historical events, perhaps an influential figure in local or national politics. But as is the case with many grand estates, the true identity of the original owner has never been definitively established. This secrecy has only fueled the rumors and legends surrounding the mansion. Was the mansion's construction a simple case of affluence, or was it meant to serve as a symbol of something far darker, something that no one has yet uncovered? And then there's the name itself, Villa Zoryada. The name echoes with a certain grandeur, almost regal in its resonance. But why Zoryada? The name doesn't have an obvious historical or familial connection, leading many to believe that it holds a deeper meaning, perhaps even one that is intentionally obscured. Some speculate that Zoryada could be a reference to a lost or secretive bloodline, one that the original owner didn't want to acknowledge. Others suggest that it could have ties to ancient symbols or traditions, either from the owner's European heritage or drawn from obscure sources that have long been forgotten. In any case, the name Zoryada carries a sense of mystique, one that perfectly complements the mansion's enigmatic history. What truly makes Villa Zoryada stand out, however, is its very construction. The materials, the design, and the location all suggest that this wasn't a typical project for an affluent family. It was something more calculated, more deliberate, perhaps even more ominous. As construction began in 1883, Smith's design was both striking and mysterious. The mansion was to be unlike any other in St. Augustine, with an imposing exterior that would rise above the surrounding landscape. Yet, its grandeur was matched only by the secrecy that enveloped the project. Little is known about the specifics of the construction, but the fact that it was undertaken with such care and at such an isolated location raises questions. What was the builder, Franklin W. Smith, trying to create? Was he simply following the instructions of a wealthy client? Or did he understand that the mansion he was helping create would become something much more than a residence? As the building began to take shape, so too did the legends surrounding it. Some claimed that strange occurrences began to happen on the site. Workers on the project spoke of unsettling noises at night, strange lights flickering in the distance, and mysterious figures that would appear on the grounds without explanation. Many of them left the site early, frightened by the eerie atmosphere that seemed to linger in the air. The mansion itself, still under construction, seemed to absorb the mystery that surrounded it. The idea of the mansion being haunted by spirits or cursed by an unseen force has persisted through the years, and even now, visitors who have ventured near Villa Zoryada claim to feel a strange presence, an undeniable sense that something is watching them. There are reports of ghostly figures glimpsed in the windows, and even the faint sound of footsteps echoing through the empty halls. Could it be that the mansion was built on a piece of land cursed from the very beginning? Or perhaps its creator had a much darker vision for its existence. As the years passed and the mansion neared completion, one fact became indisputable: Villa Zoryada was destined to become one of Augustine's most legendary landmarks. But the true purpose of this grand structure, its real history, and its mysteries have remained locked away, buried beneath the layers of time. So many questions remain unanswered. What drove the original owner to construct such a grandiose mansion in such a desolate place? What secrets are hidden within its walls? And perhaps most importantly, what role does Villa Zoryada play in the rich, complex history of St. Augustine itself? As the echoes of mystery and speculation continued to swirl around Villa Zoryada, the construction process itself became an event worthy of note. The year was 1883, and the mansion, still in its early stages, was slowly beginning to take shape. But as the walls rose, so too did the questions about why such an extravagant structure was being built in a location so far removed from the heart of St. Augustine. What drove the vision behind this monumental project? Was it purely a pursuit of wealth and power, or did it reflect something deeper, something more strategic? The architect behind the design, Franklin W. Smith, was a figure of some renown, though his name is now often overshadowed by the mansion's eerie legacy. Smith was known for his sophisticated sense of design and his ability to blend traditional elements with innovative architectural features. It's said that he took great pride in ensuring that Villa Zoryada would be more than just a residence. It would be a symbol. But what was this symbol meant to represent? The grandeur of the estate, set against the backdrop of St. Augustine's rich history, seemed to be a deliberate commentary on the wealth and influence of the person commissioning it. Yet, the choice of location was curious. Why build in a place so remote, so secluded? Was it to maintain privacy? Or was there another reason, one rooted in the darker, secretive side of Villa Zoryada's history? The construction process itself was unlike anything the region had seen. The mansion was no mere building. It was a statement, a work of art. Each stone, each brick was chosen with care, and no expense was spared. It's said that materials were sourced from the finest suppliers, some even brought in from distant locations. Smith, known for his eye for detail, crafted a design that incorporated elements of Victorian grandeur with soaring towers, ornate ironwork, and intricate wood carvings that seemed to tell their own story. The exterior was designed to impress, with a facade that stretched high into the sky, reaching toward the heavens as if to challenge the very earth beneath it. But as magnificent as it was, the mansion's true beauty lay in the details, the delicate craftsmanship, the stunning windows, and the carefully arranged gardens that would surround it. The timeline of the mansion's construction is somewhat vague, with many sources conflicting on the exact duration of the project. However, it is generally agreed that Villa Zoryada's construction spanned several years. Some claim that it took over a decade to complete the mansion, as each element of the design was carefully planned and executed. But what makes the construction timeline even more interesting is the speculation surrounding the circumstances of its completion. While most monumental projects of the time would have seen the completion of the house in a matter of years, the fact that Villa Zoryada seemed to take much longer suggests that something more complex was at play. Was there a deliberate effort to delay the completion? Or were the builders facing challenges that they couldn't overcome? Some even say that the land upon which the mansion stood fought back, as if the very earth beneath it resisted the grandeur being thrust upon it. The mansion itself was built on a vast parcel of land, which was as integral to its design as the house itself. It's said that the land was carefully selected, chosen for its strategic location and its proximity to natural resources that could help sustain the mansion's grandeur. The original design of the estate included sprawling gardens and lush landscapes intended to create a seamless blend between the mansion and its surroundings. The land itself became a part of the story, shaping the very essence of Villa Zoryada. But what was the significance of this specific location? Why was it so important to the owner to choose this plot of land so far removed from the busy, bustling city? Some say that the isolation of the property was key to the mansion's purpose. The vast estate, shrouded in mystery, would ensure that those who inhabited it could remain outside the watchful eyes of the public. But there are other theories that point to something more sinister, a hidden purpose that only those in the know would understand. The construction of Villa Zoryada was not without its challenges. The builders faced significant obstacles as they worked to bring Smith's vision to life. St. Augustine, while a city rich in history, was not yet equipped to handle such a massive project. The infrastructure was not yet in place to support the scale of the mansion's construction, and many of the materials required had to be sourced from faraway places. As the mansion's construction progressed, there were reports of delays and complications, some of which have been linked to strange occurrences at the site. Workers complained of strange sounds echoing through the air at night, while others spoke of an eerie sense of foreboding that seemed to hang over the property. The sense of unease was palpable, and it's said that many workers refused to return once they had glimpsed the strange happenings. Was it merely a case of superstition, or did the mansion's very foundation hold something darker? One of the most fascinating aspects of Villa Zoryada's creation lies in its design. The mansion was not only intended to impress, but to evoke a sense of power and permanence. Its architecture, blending elements of Victorian style with innovative features, was meant to showcase the wealth and influence of its owner. The soaring towers that rose above the estate served not only as symbols of grandeur, but as a reflection of the ambition that fueled the mansion's creation. Each room in the house was designed with purpose, its layout meticulously planned to ensure that every guest, every visitor, would be awestruck by the sheer beauty and complexity of the design. The halls were wide and grand, perfect for hosting the most influential of guests. The ballrooms, with their intricate ceiling designs and opulent furnishings, were places where the elite could mingle and discuss matters of importance, away from the prying eyes of the public. But even as Villa Zoryada began to take shape, its purpose was still unclear. What was the owner truly after? Was it merely an extravagant residence for the elite, or was it something more? Was it a house of power, a place where decisions would be made that would shape the future of St. Augustine, or perhaps even the world? The mansion's grandeur and seclusion suggest that there was something deeply strategic behind its creation. There are those who claim that Villa Zoryada was designed as a center of power, a place where political and financial deals were brokered away from the public's gaze. But the truth remains elusive. Was it simply a reflection of wealth? Or was there something far more complex, perhaps even dangerous, at work? The construction of Villa Zoryada was a defining moment in the history of St. Augustine, yet much of its true purpose remains unknown. What was the real vision behind this grand estate? Was it a mansion for the elite, a monument to wealth, or something darker? The mystery behind the creation of Villa Zoryada and the secrets it holds will continue to intrigue us for generations to come. As we move forward in this story, the legacy of Villa Zoryada begins to take shape. The mansion's construction was just the beginning of a long and complicated history. Its design, its architecture, and its location all point to something deeper, something that lies hidden beneath the surface. As we uncover more about the early days of Villa Zoryada, the questions only grow. What was its true purpose? What secrets does it hold, and how much longer will it remain a mystery? As the final stone was set and the last touches were applied to Villa Zoryada, the mansion stood as an imposing testament to the wealth, ambition, and mystery of its creator. By the time it was completed in the late 1880s, the mansion had already earned a reputation for its grandeur and its uncanny, almost mystical presence. It was no longer just a building of bricks and mortar, but as the dust settled and the mansion was finally inhabited, the true story of its early days began to unfold, and with it, more questions arose about what Villa Zoryada was truly meant to be. The first occupants of Villa Zoryada were people of power and influence, but little is known about them beyond their role as the mansion's inaugural residents. Who were they, and what was their relationship to the mansion? What secrets did they bring with them? The original owners of Villa Zoryada, much like the mansion itself, are shrouded in mystery. Some say they were a wealthy industrialist family whose name has been lost to history, while others believe that the mansion was created specifically for a prominent political figure who needed a secure, secluded place to carry out important business away from the public eye. Whoever they were, the mansion's first residents were undeniably part of St. Augustine's upper echelons. Villa Zoryada was not just a residence, it was a statement. With its sweeping towers, lush gardens, and lavish interiors, the mansion became a place where the elite would gather, discuss matters of great importance, and entertain guests from around the world. The rooms inside the mansion were designed to impress, with sprawling halls adorned with elegant furnishings, fine artwork, and priceless antiques. Each space was meticulously crafted to reflect the wealth and power of its inhabitants, and to offer a place where important events could unfold without the distraction of the outside world. In its early years, Villa Zoryada served as more than just a private residence. It was in many ways a center of influence in the region. The original owners used it as a venue for political meetings, lavish galas, and gatherings that would shape the future of St. Augustine. The mansion became a hub of activity, a place where local politicians, business tycoons, and cultural elites would come together to discuss matters of import. The drawing rooms were filled with the sounds of conversation, laughter, and debate, while the grand ballrooms saw some of the most extravagant social events of the time. From grand balls to intimate dinner parties, the mansion became the center of social life in St. Augustine. However, as with all places of power, Villa Zoryada's early days were not without their dark undercurrents. Though it was a place of high society, it was also a place of intrigue. Whispers of secret meetings, clandestine dealings, and shadowy figures meeting in the mansion's grand halls persisted throughout the early years of the estate. Some believe that Villa Zoryada was built as a retreat, not only from the pressures of public life, but as a safe haven for those engaged in the kinds of dealings that needed to remain out of the public eye. Was the mansion a mere symbol of wealth, or did it serve as a backdrop for something far more sinister? There are rumors that the mansion was used to conduct business that was not entirely above board. The secluded nature of the property, far from the prying eyes of the city, made it the perfect place to carry out such activities. It is said that Villa Zoryada was more than just a home for its owners. It was a meeting place for powerful people, some of whom were not always above reproach. However, these stories remain unverified, and much of the mansion's early history remains a mystery, leaving us to wonder whether the mansion was simply a lavish residence or a place where dark dealings took place behind closed doors. Despite the intrigue surrounding the mansion's early years, Villa Zoryada was also a place of great cultural significance. The mansion's owners were patrons of the arts and used their wealth to sponsor artists, musicians, and performers from all over the world. The grand ballrooms and drawing rooms were filled with performances, from classical concerts to theatrical performances, all of which added to the air of sophistication that surrounded the estate. The mansion became a cultural beacon, attracting artists and intellectuals from near and far who were drawn to the luxury and artistic atmosphere of the estate. It's said that some of the most influential minds of the time passed through the doors of Villa Zoryada, leaving their mark on its history. Despite the mansion's cultural significance, the darker aspects of its early days can't be ignored. It was not only a center of high society and culture, but also a place of secrets. The mansion's owners, while outwardly respectable, were rumored to have been involved in various unsavory activities. The rumors about the mansion being used for secret meetings and covert dealings persisted, and some of the mansion's earliest inhabitants became figures of suspicion, their names whispered in hushed tones by those who lived in the surrounding area. What exactly went on behind the mansion's ornate walls remains a subject of much speculation, but perhaps one of the most intriguing aspects of Villa Zoryada's early days lies in the way it shaped the community of St. Augustine. The mansion's presence in the town was a powerful force, both figuratively and literally. Its towering presence loomed over the city, casting a shadow that stretched far beyond its gates. The people of St. Augustine were both fascinated and intimidated by Villa Zoryada. It became a symbol of power, wealth, and influence, but also a place of mystery. Those who were lucky enough to gain entry to its walls were treated to a glimpse into a world of privilege that most could only dream of. Yet, even for those who lived in its shadow, Villa Zoryada was a constant reminder of the social and political hierarchy that defined their lives. The mansion's owners, whoever they were influential figures in St. Augustine, and their presence in the community only added to the mystique of Villa Zoryada. It was a place that seemed to exist outside the confines of ordinary society, a place where the rules of the outside world did not apply. It was a place where the powerful could come and go without the scrutiny of the public, and where secrets could be kept behind closed doors. But as the years went on and the mansion passed from one generation to the next, its secrets would begin to reveal themselves bit by bit. Even as the mansion played a central role in the early social life of St. Augustine, Villa Zoryada's true purpose remained shrouded in mystery. Was it simply a lavish home for the wealthy, or was it something more? What role did it play in the larger story of St. Augustine's history? And what secrets still linger in the shadows of this imposing estate? As the early days of Villa Zoryada unfolded, its architecture began to take center stage, transforming from just another grand mansion into an embodiment of opulence, grandeur, and sophisticated design. Villa Zoryada's very form, from its towering spires to its intricate carvings, stood as a bold testament to the wealth and vision of its creators. More than just a residence, it became a symbol of a lifestyle, a place where luxury wasn't just a commodity, but a statement, one that would echo through the corridors of history for years to come. The mansion, with its blend of Victorian splendor and cutting-edge architectural features, was designed to captivate and dazzle anyone who walked through its doors. Franklin W. Smith, the architect behind its design, was not only focused on creating a functional residence, he sought to craft a space that would exude elegance, power, and status. The mansion's layout was carefully constructed to combine both beauty and utility, with each room flowing seamlessly into the next, creating a sense of open space while still maintaining a level of intimacy and grandeur that was unmatched by other buildings in the region. Upon entering Villa Zoryada, visitors were immediately struck by the opulence that surrounded them. The foyer was an elaborate introduction to the grandeur that lay beyond, with marble floors that gleamed under the soft light from chandeliers hanging above. The sweeping staircase, made from polished oak, curved elegantly toward the upper floors, its banisters intricately carved with delicate floral motifs. As one ascended to the upper levels, the sheer size and scale of the mansion became apparent. Each floor seemed to offer something new, whether it was the expansive drawing rooms, the sweeping vistas from the windows, or the vast collection of art that adorned the walls. Each room in Villa Zoryada was more than just a functional space. It was a carefully curated experience. The large parlors, for instance, were designed for social gatherings, a space where the upper echelons of society could meet, entertain, and engage in conversation. These rooms were vast, with towering windows that bathed the space in natural light and high ceilings that seemed to stretch on forever. The walls were lined with the finest silk wallpaper, while the floors were covered in luxurious Persian rugs, carefully chosen to complement the grandeur of the furnishings. Antique furniture, richly upholstered in velvet, silk, and brocade, filled the rooms, each piece carefully selected to evoke a sense of both elegance and comfort. Each item within the room was a work of art in itself, from the grandiose fireplaces to the intricate chandeliers that sparkled overhead. The rooms of Villa Zoryada were designed with an eye toward functionality as well. The dining room, a spacious area fit for large banquets, was adorned with massive tapestries that depicted scenes of wealth and prosperity. The long, polished dining table was capable of seating dozens of guests, and the delicate porcelain china that adorned the table was said to be some of the finest made in the world. Above the table, an immense chandelier made of crystal and gold reflected the light of the flickering candles, adding to the sense of opulence that permeated the room. The drawing rooms and parlors were complemented by more intimate spaces, such as the library, which served as both a place of solitude and a center for intellectual conversation. This room, with its towering shelves filled with rare books, was decorated in deep, rich colors, burgundy, navy blue, and gold, giving it a sense of warmth and richness. The furniture was both comfortable and elegant, with leather chairs and oak tables set in the corners for those who wished to relax and read. It was said that some of the greatest minds of the time spent hours in that room discussing politics, philosophy, and the arts. Perhaps the most stunning feature of Villa Zoryada's architecture was its ballrooms. These rooms, designed for extravagant parties and social gatherings, were enormous, with soaring ceilings and grand chandeliers that sparkled like stars in the night sky. The ballrooms were truly the heart of the mansion. Guests who entered these rooms were immediately struck by the sheer scale of the space. It was as if the ballroom could contain an entire city. The floors, made of the finest hardwood, were polished to a perfect shine, reflecting the glittering lights of the chandeliers above. In the corners, statues and busts of classical figures stood silently, observing the lively gatherings that took place in the room. The walls were adorned with paintings, tapestries, and intricate wood paneling, each detail carefully chosen to create an atmosphere of timeless elegance. The ballrooms were not just designed to impress, they were created with a sense of purpose. These rooms were the scene of some of the grandest events in Villa Zoryada's early years. The mansion's first owners used the ballroom to host parties that attracted the most influential figures of the time. Senators, diplomats, artists, and philosophers gathered in these rooms, exchanging ideas and forging alliances. These gatherings were not simply social, they were political, intellectual, and cultural events that would shape the course of history. But the real luxury of Villa Zoryada was in its attention to detail. Every room, every corner, every inch of space was carefully planned and designed to exude a sense of wealth and refinement. The rooms were decorated with the finest materials: gold leaf, imported silks, polished wood, and marble from distant quarries. The windows were massive, framed in delicate woodwork and designed to allow the maximum amount of natural light to flood into the mansion. The furniture was upholstered in velvet and brocade, fabrics that were not only beautiful but also extraordinarily rare and expensive. The mansion's exterior was just as impressive. Villa Zoryada was designed to be seen to stand tall and proud against the skyline of St. Augustine. The mansion's towers reached into the sky, their spires twisting upward as if to touch the heavens. The facade of the building was adorned with intricate carvings, showcasing scenes from mythology and history. The windows were framed with delicate ironwork, and the doors were massive, made from solid oak, and carved with ornate patterns that spoke to the wealth and power of the mansion's owners. The grounds surrounding the mansion were equally stunning. The estate was vast, and the gardens were designed to be a place of both beauty and tranquility. The formal gardens were laid out in intricate patterns, with pathways that wound through flower beds and around statues that dotted the landscape. A series of fountains, some small and others grand, provided both beauty and the soothing sound of water. The gardens were a place for contemplation, for relaxation, and for grand social events. The grounds were manicured to perfection with rare plants and trees imported from all over the world. Villa Zoryada's gardens were as much a part of its legacy as the mansion itself, a place where wealth, power, and nature collided in a symphony of elegance. As much as Villa Zoryada was about luxury, it was also about the innovation that went into its design. Franklin W. Smith, the architect, was known for his bold and forward-thinking ideas. Villa Zoryada's design incorporated new construction techniques, and its layout was revolutionary for its time. The mansion was equipped with all the latest amenities, modern plumbing, electricity, and even an early form of central heating. The mansion was built to last, and it was meant to be as functional as it was beautiful. In many ways, Villa Zoryada was a building ahead of its time. It wasn't just a house, it was a statement about what wealth, power, and influence could achieve. The mansion was a symbol of its era, an era in which the very definition of luxury was being redefined. And Villa Zoryada, with its soaring spires, opulent interiors, and immaculate gardens, became the epitome of that new vision of luxury. The mansion's architectural beauty would live on as a testament to its creator's vision, a place where art, wealth, and design came together to create something truly extraordinary. Yet, as we'll see in the coming chapters, the true essence of Villa Zoryada was not only in its grandeur, but in the dark, mysterious secrets that lingered beneath its walls. As the towering walls of Villa Zoryada rose high into the sky, creating a silhouette that would become iconic in St. Augustine, it was not just the mansion structure that captured the attention of visitors, it was also the sprawling estate that surrounded it. The gardens and grounds of Villa Zoryada were as much a part of its legacy as its grand interior, meticulously designed to complement the mansion's grandeur while maintaining a natural harmony with the landscape. These gardens were not merely decorative, they were a testament to the wealth, taste, and vision of the mansion's creators. Each path, each flower bed, each fountain was carefully planned, not just for beauty, but to evoke a sense of tranquility and grandeur, creating an environment where luxury and nature could coexist in perfect harmony. From the moment you step onto the grounds of Villa Zoryada, you are immediately struck by the sense of space and openness. The estate covers an expansive area, providing a sense of freedom and isolation that was rare for the time. It's as if the mansion's creators sought to craft not only a home, but an entire world, one that would be enveloped in beauty and serenity. The gardens surrounding Villa Zoryada were designed to evoke a sense of awe, but also a sense of peace, offering a respite from the world outside. The formal gardens were perhaps the most striking feature of the estate, a place where meticulous care was given to every detail. These gardens were not random collections of plants and flowers. They were designed with purpose and precision, following geometric patterns that created a sense of order and symmetry. Paths wound through the gardens, inviting visitors to take leisurely strolls and enjoy the beauty of their surroundings. The layout of the gardens was deliberate. No corner was left untouched, and each area offered a new visual experience. From the manicured flower beds to the carefully placed statues and fountains, every element was part of a grand vision. One of the most remarkable features of the gardens was the use of water. Fountains, ponds, and even small streams were incorporated into the design, creating an environment where the sound of flowing water added to the sense of serenity. These water features were not just decorative, they were symbolic of the wealth and refinement of Villa Zoryada's owners. Water was often a sign of luxury in 19th century estates, and the abundance of water on the grounds suggested an endless supply of resources, a symbol of power and affluence. The fountains themselves were works of art, each one designed with intricate carvings and sculptures that added to the overall aesthetic of the garden. The largest fountain, located at the center of the estate, became a focal point for the entire property. Its waters cascaded down into a pool below, sending a mist into the air and creating a feeling of calm and tranquility. The landscaping around Villa Zoryada was designed to frame the mansion in the most flattering way. Tall hedges, carefully trimmed trees, and strategically placed flower beds helped to create a sense of seclusion, making it feel as if the mansion and its grounds were worlds apart from the rest of St. Augustine. From certain vantage points, it felt as if the mansion was floating above the land, surrounded by its own little oasis. The trees that surrounded the mansion were both ornamental and functional, providing shade in the hot Florida sun and adding to the mansion's sense of privacy and grandeur. The gardens were not only a place for beauty, but a space for gathering and leisure. It is said that Villa Zoryada's owners often hosted lavish garden parties where guests could walk along the winding paths, admire the flowers, and enjoy the peaceful ambience of the grounds. These outdoor events were an extension of the mansion's luxurious lifestyle, offering the same level of sophistication and elegance as the indoor soiree as that took place in the grand ballrooms. The gardens were a place where high society could relax, but also where power could be displayed. Just as the mansion's interiors were a space for political and cultural conversation, the gardens provided an equally important backdrop for the display of wealth and status. Beyond the formal gardens, the grounds also featured a series of more natural, wild areas. These parts of the estate were left intentionally untamed, creating a stark contrast to the meticulously manicured areas. These wild spaces offered a sense of freedom, a reminder of the untamed beauty of nature. In these areas, towering trees and dense foliage provided shelter for a variety of wildlife. There were reports of rare birds nesting in the trees, and some claimed to have seen deer and other animals roaming the grounds. These untamed areas were a symbol of the contrast between the carefully constructed world of Villa Zoryada and the wild, unpredictable nature that lay just beyond its gates. The presence of these natural areas on the estate suggested that, even in a world of luxury, nature still held an undeniable power and beauty. One of the most remarkable aspects of Villa Zoryada's landscaping was its use of rare and exotic plants. The mansion's owners spared no expense in acquiring the finest flora from around the world, with trees, shrubs, and flowers imported from as far away as Europe and Asia. These exotic plants were not just a symbol of wealth, but also a statement of the owner's global connections. The gardens were a reflection of the broader world, a place where different cultures, climates, and landscapes could come together in one place. Among the most notable plants were massive flowering trees that were not native to Florida, yet flourished under the care of the estate's gardeners. These trees, with their colorful blooms, added an air of mystery and allure to the estate, as visitors would marvel at their beauty and wonder how such plants had come to be in Florida. The trees themselves were more than just ornamental. Many of them were chosen for their longevity and strength. These towering giants, with their thick trunks and vast branches, served as a reminder of the mansion's permanence. Some of these trees were said to be hundreds of years old, with roots that seemed to reach deep into the earth, grounding the mansion in a way that made it feel unshakable. These ancient trees created an almost mystical atmosphere, as if the land itself was imbued with power and history. The overall design of Villa Zoryada's grounds was a masterpiece of landscaping. It was a space where nature, wealth, and power came together in perfect harmony. The gardens and grounds were not just an afterthought. They were integral to the mansion's design and function. The gardens were both a reflection of the owner's status and a sanctuary from the world outside. They were a place where the natural world was tamed and molded into something beautiful, just as the mansion itself had been molded into a symbol of opulence. But beyond the beauty and elegance of the gardens, there was a certain eerie quality to the grounds. As with the mansion itself, rumors and legends persisted about the estate's land. Some claimed that the gardens were haunted, that the spirits of past inhabitants could be seen wandering through the flower beds at night. Others spoke of strange, unexplained events that took place within the grounds, where the normal rules of nature seemed to bend and shift. Was it simply superstition, or did the estate's beauty hold something darker beneath the surface? The gardens of Villa Zoryada became more than just a place of beauty. They became a symbol of the mansion's mysterious legacy, a place where the line between nature and the supernatural seemed to blur. As time passed and generations came and went, Villa Zoryada, with all its grandeur and mystery, found itself undergoing transformations. The mansion that once stood as a symbol of wealth, power, and prestige became more than just a monument to a bygone era. It became a living structure, subject to the whims of those who inhabited it. Renovations and changes, both large and small, began to shape the mansion in ways that reflected not only the passage of time, but the shifting tastes, desires, and needs of its owners. What was once a beacon of opulence gradually transformed into something both timeless and ever-evolving. The first significant renovation to Villa Zoryada came in the early 20th century, when the mansion's original owners, after years of living in relative seclusion, decided to update their estate to reflect the changing world around them. At this time, the old Victorian style, though still beloved, was beginning to give way to newer architectural influences. The world was moving into the modern era with new materials and techniques coming into use, and Villa Zoryada, despite its historical significance, was not immune to this cultural shift. The original owners, ever mindful of the mansion's prestige, decided that a modernization was necessary not just for comfort, but to ensure that the mansion could stand as a testament to both the old and the new. The first round of renovations focused primarily on the interior of the mansion. While the exterior remained largely intact, the interior was overhauled to incorporate the modern conveniences of the time. The mansion's original rooms, with their Victorian-era furnishings and grand designs, were updated to accommodate the latest technological advancements. New plumbing was installed, along with an updated electrical system, which had only recently become available. The once massive coal-burning fireplaces were replaced with more efficient heating systems, and the layout of some of the rooms was altered to make the space more practical for daily life. These changes were not merely functional, they were also aesthetic. The owners of Villa Zoryada sought to maintain the mansion's luxurious ambience while introducing more modern elements. The old wallpaper, which had been replaced several times over the years, was now swapped out for silk and satin wall coverings that spoke to the prevailing tastes of the early 20th century. The ceilings, once adorned with intricate plaster designs, were given a more streamlined look, with soft lighting and clean, elegant lines replacing the ornate flourishes of earlier years. New furniture was brought in, replacing some of the older, more antique pieces with contemporary designs that still retained a sense of elegance. But even as these renovations were completed, the essence of Villa Zoryada remained the same. The mansion, despite the modernization, retained its sense of grandeur and power. In the 1930s, as the Great Depression swept through the United States and wealth became harder to maintain, Villa Zoryada faced a different kind of renovation. The estate's owners, now more conscious of their financial limitations, decided to make significant cuts to the mansion's upkeep. The once pristine gardens, which had been so carefully cultivated, were allowed to grow wild in certain sections, creating a juxtaposition between the opulence of the mansion and the growing disrepair of its grounds. The grand ballrooms, which had once been the scene of lavish social events, were now used less frequently, and the once immaculate rooms began to show signs of wear. But even in this period of austerity, the mansion retained its dignity, and its owners maintained its reputation as one of St. Augustine's most prominent landmarks. Behind every grand estate, behind every mansion steeped in history, there lies a shadow, a mystery that clings to its walls like the dust of ages. Villa Zoryada, despite its elegance, sophistication, and overwhelming beauty, is no different. Like many great estates, it was not immune to the darkness that often accompanies power and wealth. As with any mansion that has stood the test of time, the stories surrounding Villa Zoryada are far from the peaceful, idyllic image one might expect. Hidden beneath its ornate floors, behind its elaborate tapestries, And beyond its manicured gardens lie secrets, tales of scandal, tragedy, and the kind of mystery that would forever change the way we view this grand estate. It all began with the mansion's original occupants. Though little is known about them in the present day, rumors have long swirled regarding the true nature of their dealings and the atmosphere that pervaded Villa Zoryada during their reign. There are whispers that the owners of Villa Zoryada were not simply wealthy industrialists or political figures, but individuals deeply entrenched in the darker corners of society. While on the surface they appeared to be respectable members of the upper echelons, it's said that their wealth came not just from hard work, but from questionable business dealings, the kind that should have remained hidden. Could Villa Zoryada have been more than just a lavish home? Could it have been a headquarters for dealings that reached into the very heart of corruption? One of the earliest rumors centers around the mysterious disappearance of a key figure in the mansion's history. A close associate of the original owners, this man reportedly vanished one evening, never to be seen again. Some say he simply left, a decision made after a fallout over financial disagreements or personal betrayal. But others believe the truth is far darker. Stories abound that the man was last seen in the mansion's expansive library, an area often described as cold, quiet, and unwelcoming. The lights in the library were said to have flickered that night as if something unseen was at play. The next morning, the man was gone. His sudden disappearance was never fully explained, and many believe that he met with a more sinister fate within the mansion's walls. The mansion's library, a vast, quiet space filled with thousands of books and delicate artifacts, became the epicenter of more than just intellectual debates. Over the years, it became a place where darker discussions took place, with figures from across the world meeting in secret to discuss matters that no one should hear. Was this library the setting for political skimming, or perhaps even more nefarious acts? The eerie silence of the space, combined with its long history, only added to the atmosphere of suspicion. Perhaps there, among the dusty pages and leather-bound tomes, secrets were made, secrets that remain buried to this very day. Even more unsettling were the rumors surrounding the mansion's ballrooms. In the early days of Villa Zoryada, these grand spaces were used for lavish events, filled with the sounds of laughter, music, and dancing. But as time passed, the ballrooms began to take on a darker tone. By the 1920s, the lavish affairs gave way to more somber gatherings, often marked by an air of tension. It was said that the guests at these parties were often not only the elite of society, but also individuals of a more mysterious and dangerous caliber, people whose wealth and influence were not always acquired through honest means. In the dimly lit corners of the ballroom, whispered conversations would take place, filled with promises of wealth, power, and perhaps even more dangerous alliances. Was the mansion a mere backdrop for social events, or was it the stage for the kind of deals that no one should ever know about? The mansion's once beautiful gardens, too, hold their own secrets. Though they were the pride of Villa Zoryada, there are stories of the grounds being the scene of strange, unexplained events. Visitors have reported feeling an overwhelming sense of unease when walking through the paths of the garden late at night. Some have claimed to see shadowy figures darting between the trees or hear faint whispers on the wind. Others say that the fountains, once a symbol of beauty and serenity, would sometimes stop flowing without warning, only to resume again as mysteriously as they had ceased. Was it the wind or something else? Could the gardens, like the rest of Villa Zoryada, hold a darker truth beneath their delicate exterior? As the mansion changed hands over the years, its reputation only grew more enigmatic. Each new owner brought with them new stories, each more unsettling than the last. One of the most chilling tales centers around a later resident, a wealthy businessman from the 1940s who, according to local legend, had a deep fascination with the occult. His interest in the supernatural was no secret, and it is said that he spent countless hours in the mansion's private chambers conducting rituals and experiments meant to tap into the unknown. This man, rumored to have dabbled in dark practices, was said to have brought an entirely new energy to the mansion, one that was far from welcoming. Stories spread that the mansion's once quiet hallways began to echo with strange sounds at night, and that rooms, previously untouched for years, would be found inexplicably rearranged. Was this simply the result of an overactive imagination, or had the mansion's dark history attracted something far more sinister? Many who stayed in Villa Zoryada have shared unnerving accounts of unexplained occurrences. Staff members who worked in the mansion in the 1950s often spoke of cold spots that would appear in the hallways, particularly in the lower levels, which were known to be the most isolated. Others reported hearing footsteps in empty rooms, the faint sounds of laughter, and even the echo of a piano playing when no one was there. Some claimed that the mansion's most significant hauntings were centered around the library, where ghostly figures were said to linger, and the ballrooms, where the music of a long-dead pianist could still be heard drifting through the air. But perhaps the most disturbing mystery of all is one that has haunted the estate for decades, the so-called phantom visitor. According to various accounts from former residents and guests, a spectral figure dressed in an old-fashioned suit has been seen wandering the grounds at night. The figure is said to walk slowly, with purpose, as though on a mission. Some believe it to be the ghost of the mansion's original owner, still restless and unable to leave. Others argue that it is the spirit of someone who met a violent end within the mansion's walls, perhaps the same man who disappeared all those years ago, his fate forever sealed within the mansion's dark history. Despite all these strange occurrences, the mansion continues to stand tall. It has witnessed many changes, both physical and cultural, yet it remains a powerful symbol of wealth, influence, and mystery. The stories that surround it are as much a part of its legacy as its beautiful architecture and lush gardens. And though Villa Zoryada has been open to the public in recent years, welcoming visitors who come to marvel at its history, the mansion's darker side remains just as elusive and potent as ever. For every visitor who steps through its doors, there is always a sense of something more, a feeling that, despite the mansion's grandeur, there are still secrets hiding within its walls, secrets that may never be revealed.